Sisyphean.
Hey everybody, I hope you guys are all doing okay. Welcome to the start of a brand new project. So, ever since I wrapped up Slay the Spire with my true 100% playthrough, I've been looking and searching for the next game to play, and I feel like when I started out my channel, I was mainly doing older video games. But since then, I branched out and started doing a bunch of newer ones as well, such as Slay the Spire. But I think it's time to go back to my roots and go back to another old game. This game is so old that it's the lead digit in the year that it was released is different than what we use right now. This was, of course, pre-2000, pre-Y2K. So, we're really digging deep into history to pull out this game. But this game isn't just like an old, cult classic video game. I truly believe this game is one of the best games ever made. Like, in human history, one of the best works of art that's ever been put together by humans. So that's one reason I want to play it. But I don't just want to play it. I want to play it in a kind of special way. I'll talk about what this playthrough is going to be like in just a few moments. But before that, let me talk a little bit more about just how awesome this game is. So, like, the writing and the humor are just top-notch. I guess I should give a brief summary of the plot of the game. Basically, you are a mercenary slash, I guess you run your own private military contractor scheme, and you yourself are one of the mercenaries, but you also hire other mercenaries, and you eventually like have a bit of an economy going. So there's that element to the game. There's also turn-based tactical combat. There's that element to the game. In some ways, it's a little bit like the original XCOM, and I'm talking the original XCOM. I think it's either UFO Defense or Enemy Unknown, or I think it was given both of those names. Games were weird back in the day. They just completely give the game a new name, and then it was really wild and unpredictable and fun time back in the 90s. But yes, this game is a little reminiscent of XCOM, but it just takes everything that XCOM did. By the way, XCOM also one of the best games of all time, and gets credit for showing that this kind of game can work, but Jagged Alliance 2 took everything good that XCOM did and just cranks it to a whole other level. You're not just running around with a squad of, voiceless robot mercenaries. The ones in here have, actual names, voices, personalities. They get along with each other at various levels. Some of them like each other, some of them hate each other. There are consequences to what happens if you put a team together where they're not getting along. If they are getting along, then they'll make little comments And of course, if they are unhappy about something, they'll comment on that. And the writing for every single aspect of the game is just top-notch. From the main plot, which I'll just briefly, without giving too many spoilers, summarize as, so you are this mercenary and you run your own little mercenary, side hustle business, I guess. And you've been hired to help overthrow a tyrannical, dictatorial regime in a fictional country called Arulco, and you have to slowly take it over town by town. And once you start taking over towns, you essentially have an economy now, because a lot of the some of these towns are going to have mines that you can get resources from. There are other ways to get money in the game, but the main way is going to be by capturing towns and just like co-opting whatever economy they already had. So that's the plot, and as I mentioned, the writing through and through is top-notch. It's one of the best written games I have ever encountered. The only thing that probably beats this game in terms of the quality of the writing is Hades. The only game I can think of in the world that might have better writing than this game is Hades. And if you've played Hades, then you know what a high compliment that is. So I think that's enough glazing. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna shift scope a little bit. I am going to start the playthrough in this video. At the end, we're going to create our character, but before that, I need to explain to you what I'm going to be doing in this series and how it's going to work. So just give me a moment. Alright, we're back. I have my browser open in the background. I've actually quit out of the game because sometimes the music and sound effects glitch out a little bit when the game is minimized. So what we're gonna do is we are on YouTube and we're gonna play the main theme on loop while I talk about what this series is gonna be like. Now, I'm gonna be playing in a very particular kind of way with a very particular objective. The objective is gonna be to not let any of the hireable mercenaries die. Not on my watch. And the only way to accomplish this, is through heavy save-scumming. And, since we're already in a bit of a military theme with this game, we're gonna call this project Operation Scumlord. And the goals... well, there's really only one goal. Do not let anybody die. Can I bold this? Can I underline this? Nope, I guess you can't. Let me, italicize this. Do not let anybody die. Now, for the mercenaries in our squad, it's gonna require a lot of, I'm pretty good at this game. I'm not going to do any stupid shit, but every once in a while you might get, surprise attacked. And if I sense that things are going south, I will... if things are going badly, then I will save scum like a little biatch. That's gonna be point number one. However, this only works for the mercenaries that you have hired. There is one other way mercenaries can die, and that is if you haven't hired them. Let me go over to this wonderful guide on Faden.com. This wonderful, wonderful guide, which we are going to talk about again when I talk about character creation. But for now, I want to focus on this line that I already have highlighted. Unhired mercenaries have a small chance of dying each day. This chance is just calculated by the game in the background, and I guess there's some dice being rolled, and if the game decides that some mercenaries' time is up, they will just kill them off, and it's scripted. And ordinary save-scumming isn't gonna help, because, well, I guess before we get to that, we've got to acknowledge the game's save system and why it makes ordinary save-scumming difficult. What makes save-scumming hard in this game is that given any particular state of the game in combat, what follows is rigidly deterministic. Now, this means that you cannot simply load your game and hope that a shot you miss will hit if you keep reloading, or that an enemy shot that hit you will miss, because these hits or misses are rigidly determined by the state of the game. What this then means is the only way to get different outcomes is to change the state of the game by, I guess, like, it's weird to even find the words for it, but I'm gonna put it in the simplest and vaguest way by doing something different. For example, if you miss a shot, loading the game won't help you hit it. But if you order your mercenaries to walk a little bit, I believe it will even work if you tell somebody to just walk back and forth. Then the new state of the world will bring in a new set of rigidly determined outcomes that may be more or less favorable. Which means to give yourself the best chance, save-scumming to manipulate your favor, you will need to have a lot of action points, which is why agility is going to be a key stat later on. Right. I don't know if there are guides out there. There probably are, explaining the save, the like deterministic aspect of the game's battles, but I figured I'd just like recap it myself so we can see what we've got going on. Right. So this is how we're gonna do it. So that is all for combat. But for unhired mercenaries, the game will constantly be rolling their chances to survive the next time period. And if they fail that roll, the game will simply schedule their demise. You cannot circumvent this via the method used for combat, because no matter what you do, when that time comes, then their time is up. However, there is one, and as far as I know, only one way to bypass these scripted deaths, and that is something that I will explain in the game when the situation arises, because it is way too complicated to get into here. Right. So we're slowly explaining how Operation Scumlord is going to work, and I'm going to put everything I typed out here in the video description as well. So, you know, if you want to go back to one of the earlier points, you don't have to wait for me to, you know, scroll up. You can just look at the description. Right. So that is for how we're going to keep the mercenaries alive. There is one other weird aspect to the game. Unrelated, but still weird enough that we need to talk about this. Talk about it is the way the game handles income from mines. So, certain cities have mines that will generate income for you. However, the income that they give you will vary from game to game, and there's no clean way to tell from looking at your save how what your eventual mine incomes will be. But whatever those incomes are, be determined when you start your game. So you're locked in, and the only way to change it is to start a new game. One of these mines will also eventually peter out and stop producing income. which means that eventually your income potential will drop, and depending on which mine it is, it could drop drastically. And in order to just shed some more light on this, I'm gonna open up a question I asked ChatGPT. The question I asked was, in Jagged Alliance 2, playing in 1.12, is there any way to tell mine incomes and which mine will run out from the save file? And the answer is no. That's because these fields are not exposed in a human readable way, and the main editors that people use, like Jape, I don't know if I'll be using Jape. I don't think I'll need to be using Jape if I'm successful in my goal. Save-scumming should be enough. I do have Jape, but I won't be using it. But you can use Jape to edit your save files, but the only thing you can really edit is the statistics and the inventories for your mercenaries, which is something I'm not going to do because I don't want to cheat in that way. I don't want to cheat by bringing in, you know, artificial, extra, you know, outside of the game assistance for myself. That's where I draw the line. You could even bring mercenaries back from the dead, right? That's not how I want to play. The 1.13 mod changes all of this because these things are in the I think in the configuration settings. But I'm not going to be playing 1.13 while this is solved in 1.13. I will not be playing that mod, as I guess, let me start a new sentence. Even though it's a great mod, it makes the game considerably more complicated. So this mod basically adds a ton of content, but I think it's a mod made by and for specifically people who are deeply, deeply interested in military realism and just military hardware in general. So there's tons of things that it adds, like different kinds of scopes, like directional explosives, and it's really cool. But for the main campaign, I think having that level of I mean, it's the kind of thing that's just gonna induce decision paralysis, right? So for the main story, we're not gonna be playing in 1.13, but potentially once we're done with the main story, I might fire up this mod. In fact, I'll just see if there are mods that don't even like you don't even have to play the main story. Maybe you can just load up a map with different mercenaries and give them different things and have battles. Like, it'd be cool in 1.13 to see what kinds of shenanigans we can get up to. But for the main story, we're not going to be running with that mod. So all of this is to say, depending on how the game shakes out, we might either get lucky or we might get extremely unlucky. What I will say though is, even in a worst case scenario, we should have no trouble eventually reaching the sweet spot of having 3 full teams of mercenaries. Misspelled that. Misspelled that. However, depending on our income, we might not be able to hire the most expensive ones to fill out our final team. And once the game starts, we're locked in. I'm just going to accept those consequences, right? This, I guess, is gonna balance out the save-scummy aspect, because, like, no matter how much I scum, there is nothing in the game, unlike with the exploit I'll be using to sidestep hireable mercenary deaths. I don't think there is any way at all to change the initial assignments for mine income and which mine will run out. So we're just gonna accept what happens. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? Some final points about this playthrough? I guess we should talk about, are we going to be good, are we going to be evil? Because you can do some pretty evil, heinous stuff in this game. You can do some pretty evil stuff in this, but we are going to be doing a maximally goody playthrough, just because it feels nice. And that's my decision. I'm sure there are people who've done evil playthroughs. I'm sure, in fact, I know that this game is on Good Old Games, because that's where I'm playing it. If you want to do an evil playthrough, just download the game, play it yourself. You'll have a great time. But in this playthrough, we're gonna be good. Right? We're gonna be good. So now we're gonna start character creation, and at this point, I think that's about everything for my little document for Operation Scumlord. Like I said, I'm going to be putting this in the video description, so if you want to review what this series is going to be like, just check out the description. Now, before we go on, I'm going to talk about how I'm going to be building my character, right? So, again, this wonderful guide at faden.com is what I'm going to be using. The game in 1.12, when you build your initial character, you have to answer questions in a questionnaire, and what those answers give you will, the answers you give will then give you traits. And, like, the questions are hilarious, we'll take a look at them, but we're going to be answering them in a very particular way, and specifically we want this thing. We want our character to be stealthy, and have the Knight's Op trait, and be optimistic. So this answer pattern will get you there. Now, I thought about this, having somebody who's a Night Ops expert, like you get rid of your stealthy trait and you boost your Night Ops. That's also a viable option. Night Ops is key because you want to be doing your battles at night with a team that is specialized with night combat, because enemies in this game generally don't have great night vision, and they don't have great ways to deal with somebody coming at them from the dark. During the day, it's pretty equalized because you can see somebody from, like, across the road, you know, you can see somebody from pretty far away. But while we're going to be trying to do night combat, for the most part, we will occasionally be forced to have battles during the day. So stealthy will help us in those daytime battles. And I guess you gotta have a bit of a variety as well, right? Because if you only fight during the night, it could get a little bit repetitive. You know, you need a bit of a change of scenery. But this is what we're going to be doing to get our chosen traits. And I'm going to be putting this guide, like in the description. Guide used for character creation. I'm just gonna link it. I guess I'll just put this in the document as well. Be building a stealthy night ops plus optimistic mercenary for our starting character. I think that's all of the information we need before we actually dive into the game. I think that's good. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna launch the game, and then we're gonna start, right? So just give me a moment. Alright, it's time to get into the game, and I think there's gonna be a cutscene which we are gonna watch. So let's take a look at this. Ooh, but before that we gotta do our game settings. Obviously we're gonna be playing on expert mode. It makes the game more difficult, but it sends enemies with better equipment against you earlier on. So if you can kill a few of them, you can get some really cool long-range weaponry, which will kind of carry you through the entire game, right? One or two good guns can carry you through the entire game, especially, of course, if you're willing to save scum. I do not recommend taking Iron Man, because when I played the game back in the day, it rarely fully crashed, but it would often lock up and freeze, and like some enemy, I guess, was trying to do some thing, or some event happened that the game couldn't parse properly, and it would just freeze and not progress. And sometimes if you waited like an hour, it would magically advance the battle, but sometimes it would just be stuck. So if you play Iron Man, just bear that in mind. We're going to be doing tons of guns, because we do like tons of guns. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm not going to be playing the 1.13 mod because of how much like just the deluge of you know, military equipment it introduces makes the game a little bit too complicated. I think the tons of guns, I mean, normal is fine, but the tons of guns things brings in some fun weapons. I think in particular, if you play with just normal, then it's just NATO weaponry, right? With NATO ammunition. But tons of guns brings in some of like Warsaw Pact weapons and like AK type weapons. But the best one that it brings in is the Dragunov sniper rifle, which is my favorite sniper in this game. And we're gonna be playing sci-fi mode because some fun stuff happens when you play in sci-fi mode. Alright, so with all that done, it's time to jump in. Yeah, the game warns you about expert mode. Don't blame us if you get shipped back in a body bag. Your choice will affect things throughout the entire course of the game, so choose wisely. Are you sure you want to play in expert mode? Yes, I am an expert. And now we get to watch a cool little cutscene. The rebel base in Omerta, Aroko. We have some military vehicles. Didrana is the evil despot who rules Arulco with an iron fist. A monarch, it seems, or a self-styled monarch. Oop, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. You can't just. Oh, that is super not cool. It's getting worse and worse. So you can see why we're being called in to help. So that's what's going on in Arulco. Now we're in Prague, in the Czech Republic, 2 months later. These cutscenes are actually, like, surprisingly crisp for something that was made in 1999. There's a poster of Lenin on the wall, I think. Very briefly. Ooh, pistol. Excuse me. And we got
I was happy to hear you have decided to take the assignment. No doubt your inquiries have shown that I, Enrico Chivaldori, speak the truth. In the past 10 years, since killing my father and framing me, my wife has inflicted great suffering upon my people. Those that may be of value to her are imprisoned, beaten, and tortured. The old, the sick, even infants with birth defects are removed swiftly from the population. Now it is time to remove her. I have brought the money you requested. It is everything I have. However, Arulco is full of gold and silver, and you might be able to convince the miners to help us in the struggle. There also exists a small but determined rebel movement. They are led by a man named Miguel Cordona. If you can locate Miguel, I have written a letter for you to give him. I believe he will accept you and prove to be an invaluable ally. I wish you luck, my friend.
This is us accepting the mission, and this is the game beginning. What a slick, smooth transition. He opens up his laptop, and you see the same screen that he was looking at. Now then, there's a couple things we gotta do. There's a slight chance we're gonna have to restart the game, but not because of the mine stuff I was talking about. It's because there's one specific mercenary that I want on my team to begin the game. Like, I think the single best mercenary in the game, but she might be busy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna exit the screen. We're gonna go to we're gonna go. Oh, I got new mail. I gotta get rid of that. We're gonna go to AIM, and we're gonna see, is Donna Houston available? Right. Let's just go to the gallery. Not the alumni. This is from the previous game. Let's just go to the mugshot index. Spider is free. Yeah, boy. So we're gonna I guess sorry for all the coughing. My throat is a bit dry. It is still winter right now. Do we want to hire? Well, we know we can hire Spider whenever we want. We just got to make sure it's done before we jump in. Our first team is going to be the mercenary that we create, plus Spider, Vicky, Spider plus Vicky. If I can find Vicky, where is she? Am I forgetting the name somehow? Or oh no, there's Vicky. It's gonna be Spider, Vicky. They're friends, and they're also friends with what's her name? Raven and Raider. I think these are husband and wife, and this is like a friend group of mercenaries that get along really well and generally kind of kick ass. Because if you look at Raiden, she's a She's a night ops mercenary. If we look at oh god, come on. If we look at previous Raider is really good with auto weapons as well. Really high marksmanship to start out with. And if we go back to our members, go to the mugshot index, Spider is a night ops mercenary. It doesn't really tell you that in her bio, but she is just an outstanding person for night ops. Plus, she has the medical expertise that you're gonna need if you ever get injured. And Vicky is the mechanic. So a really high mechanical skill, and and this collection of skills is gonna carry us. Explosive and medical. She doesn't really need medical. We won't really have anybody who's good with explosives. That's kind of the sacrifice that I'm gonna make, because I think you can go pretty far in this game with just guns, right? Does Raider have any explosives? Nah. Yeah, nobody in our team is really going to be an explosives expert. And the last member in our team, just because I love her, is going to be the psychopath called Louisa Garneau, nickname Buzz. And she is... When I call her a psycho, I'm not exaggerating. She does have the character trait of being psycho, which means sometimes if you give her automatic weapons, it can lead to some really fun moments in that. Scary moments, but some fun moments as well. And, you know, great marksmanship. And not even an insane, like, salary for the value that she brings, you know. And the downside of being a psycho, I see it as an upside because it makes the game more fun, right? So, win-win-win. She's also eventually going to be in our team. So we're gonna hire Spider, but before that, we're gonna make our own mercenary. So we gotta go to our email. Gotta go to Psych Pro Inc. And they'll give us an activation code, XCP624. I think this is always the same. It'd be kind of fun if they randomized it, but you know what? That's a small detail. So we gotta go to the web. Gotta go to none of these. We gotta go to IMP, and we gotta start answering these questions. First of all, you gotta put in the activation code. Oop. Easy. EP624. Are we in? We're in. Alright, boys. Let's start. We gotta start out with the name, and I've been thinking long and hard about what name to give. Now, in my Path of Exile playthrough, I named my Path of Exile character after a cricket player, and I think I'm gonna continue with that theme in this one. The Path of Exile cricket player I picked was a Australian cricket player. But this time, I'm gonna pick a cricket player that also has a specific nickname. Now, I think there's a few different options, but I think the one that is calling out to me the most is the Australian bowler, one of my favorite cricket players of all time, and it's gotta be Glenn McGraw. And the nickname, because Glenn was so consistent at always hitting exactly where he wanted the ball to hit, the nickname that he got was the metronome. So our nickname is gonna be, ooh, a metronome isn't gonna fit. Oh, metronome, no! Is there a... He had another nickname, which was Pigeon. I know that's so weird and so random, but one of his nicknames was Pigeon, and I think for similar reasons, right? Because, like, pigeons peck, and it's like, you can train them to peck at the same spot over and over again. I think maybe that's... I'm actually gonna ask ChatGPT this. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT this. Why was Glenn McGraw nicknamed Pigeon? Because I don't want to be spreading misinformation. Nicknamed Pigeon. Let's see. His junior cricket days. Oh, as the story goes, when he was skinny, older players thought that he looked like a pigeon. Okay. So yeah, it wasn't about his bowling style. It was just people making fun of him. So yeah. Forget about everything I said previously. I just assumed it was about his bowling style, but no, we're gonna because metronome isn't gonna fit, we're gonna call ourselves Pigeon. But the reason I'm picking Glenn McGraw is because of his amazing accuracy, and we are going to replicate his amazing accuracy via save-scumming. Alright. And there's two options we can go. We can either go just a pigeon, or Shane Warne, the late great Shane Warne, and probably a few other people used to call him Pidge. I feel like Pidge is I mean, Pigeon is already kind of an undignified name. Pidge, I think, is taking a little bit too far. We're just gonna go with Pigeon. We're gonna go male. And we're gonna say that's good. Now we gotta select our personality, and we gotta answer a series of 16 questions. I have all of the answers that I need, but we'll take a look at the options, because some of these are pretty funny. The first one is pretty straightforward. When you were a kid, you wanted to be Bruce Lee, Clint Eastwood, Rocky, Houdini, Terry Bradshaw, or the President. I don't know who Terry Bradshaw is, but all of these seem like reasonable answers. Alright. But we're gonna pick the President, because this is gonna help us get the optimistic trait. That is answer number 6. For this one, this is a fun little question. You're waiting in line at a circus watching a punk teenager attempting to throw darts at balloons in order to win a prize. He misses his first 3 shots and pays for more. Apparently, after a luxurious prize, a gold nose ring for his girlfriend. After watching for 20 minutes, you grow frustrated. You have quite a bit of skill in this game, so you decide to offer him a bit of on-the-spot coaching. To let him know how to throw a dart. You skillfully throw darts over his shoulder so that nobody notices, and he wins the prize. Grab him by his chain-wearing neck and stick his concrete hard pointy purple hair spikes through the gigantic balloons he cannot seem to otherwise hit. I kindly asked the game's other attendant if he could possibly spare a moment from his 12-pack so that you two could play. For this one, we're gonna go for option number 2, skillfully tossing the darts over his shoulders that nobody notices. This is gonna help us become stealthy. You've just next question. You have just watched someone put $1 million into a locker at a bus station. Amazed that he just walks away, albeit with the key, you find yourself in a moral dilemma. Thankfully, it does not last long. You could wait for the coast to clear and take the money. You could clear the coast yourself. Who cares? You got $1 million. Blow open the lock with your gun, walk out coolly out of the building, and grab the first blonde you happen to pass by. Don't think we'll do that. We can follow him under the cover of darkness. You ambush him and grab the key along with any other goodies he might be carrying, like keys to other lockers, or call the police. Sure that something illegal is happening and hope for a small reward. We're gonna go option 3. And this is gonna help us either with stealth or night ops. But the guide is telling me I should take option 3 here. Again, we're going to be taking option 3 here, but let's read the question. Suppose you owned a pickup truck and lived in Tennessee. What is the most likely item to be displayed in the window? Your rack of semi-automatic hunting rifles, a peace sign, the rebel flag. Okay, oh shit. Well, you know what? I'm following the guide. A silhouette of a naked woman to complement those on your mud flaps, or a comical character with 2 big old guns and the words "back off" in blood red letters. The guide is telling me that for question 4 I gotta pick option 3. I don't know if this is mandatory, but I'm not gonna deviate from what it says. A certain annoying, pathetic, furry purple dinosaur should be. Now, I don't think this matters that much, but obviously the people who made this game hated Barney. I wasn't a big fan of Barney either. This is question 5. We're being told to select option 2, which is hung from a tree. Well, I guess there is a positive option, which we're not going to take. Obviously, my favorite option is hung from a tree, shot, gutted, and run over by a Buick. But the guide is telling me to pick this, so I will take that, but let it be noted that this is my favorite answer for this one. For number 6, again, we're being told to pick option 2. You're alone and asleep in bed when you hear a sound downstairs. You're certain somebody is breaking into your house. In the lingering seconds between awakening and your impending heart attack, you reach for the phone and call 911. What would you most likely do next? Scream at the top of your lungs until your vocal cords feel like gravel. Grab a knife and head downstairs after the intruder. Stay on the phone and hide under the bed, realizing that you're trapped. You bolt out the nearest exit, even that means jumping out the second-story window. Grab your gun, begin blowing holes through the floor of your bedroom, and yell, "Yeah, come on up and get some of this, tough guy." But we're gonna do this. This is gonna help us again, either with stealth or night ops. So we're gonna pick this, and then for number 7, we're gonna pick option 3. In the middle of a normal day in a large American city, you notice an army surplus store being looted. Thinking, with a decided lack of morals, that this must be your lucky day, you rush inside. There are, however, only 4 things left in the store. You excuse me. Sorry. Maybe I should slow down a little bit. You grab one of the things and rush out. What do you grab? It could be a brand new computer, minus the necessary manuals, a complete set of survival knives with the special slicer and dicer attachment kit, night vision goggles bundled with the illustrated guide, daytime, the unnecessary hazard, great option, Bob, the night clerk, who was wrapped in duct tape, but otherwise okay. So we're gonna pick option 3, and this is gonna help us get night ops. Then for number 8, you're applying for a job as a butcher in an effort to give yourself the edge over the applicants. You demonstrate that you can skillfully wield 2 blades at the same time. I think that would help you become ambidextrous. Take a few liberties with your background, such as that high-profile and fictional position you held at foreman at Bob's Slaughterhouse. Show up well-dressed and confident that you are the perfect candidate. Begin practicing prime cuts on the neighborhood pets. This one, I think, is going to help you. Like, option 4 will basically turn you into a psychopath. But let me just check to see if an Jagged Alliance 2 guide. I don't want to deviate from it if it's telling me to do a certain thing. I'm probably gonna just do it. But I want to see what, like, would option 3 help you get optimistic? We're on question 8. Question 3 would help you get optimist. On number 8, and 2 is gonna give you nothing. So we may have to redo this, but I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna deviate from the guide slightly and pick number 3 because I really want to seal in the optimism thing. Hang on. Stealthy and night ops with a touch of optimism. Where are we getting our optimism from? We're getting our optimism from question 1, and we're getting it from well, that's the only thing that gives you optimism. So I guess I will just. I'm gonna take the well-dressed thing. And then number 9, wife is 3 hours late coming home and hasn't called. You didn't really notice. You tell Candy there's no rush to leave. You assume she's with someone else. No doubt a strapping 18-year-old young buck. You pace back and forth in the living room until you wear a path in the carpet. We're gonna pick option 2 because all of the other ones might give you a negative trait. This one gives you forgetful. This one gives you the asshole trait. No, the pessimist trait. This one gives you the nervous trait, and I don't want that. So apparently we're cheating on our wife. We got a rebel flag in our truck. Some questionable personality traits, but listen, we gotta do it. Let's see. Number 10. You live next to a. Well, let me see. So for number 8, sorry, for number 9, we did put the correct option. For this one, you live next door to a frat house. Following weekend after weekend of loud and crazy parties, you decide that yes, you are really too old for this, or really begin to doubt that your wife is having a Rubbermaid party for the boys. You bribe your plumber to hook their septic tank directly into the CO2 system after installing several strategically placed Guinness signs. Okay, that's elaborate, but that sounds kind of fun. Or you can do nothing, fearing that calling the police would only lead them to do God knows what to your property. And we're gonna pick, this is question 10, option 1. We are, in fact, too old for this in the game and in real life. Now, for this one, we're also going to pick option 1, but let's see. Driving to work in your new sports car, you pull up behind a young man in a minivan going approximately -5 miles an hour. You are unable to pass him, and in your frustration, you begin to fantasize that you press R for rocket launcher, that you could hold a class wherein you would teach people proper Autobahn driving techniques, that a ramming device springs out from the front of your car and baps his car faster, or that every curse you're uttering could be broadcast loudly in the stereo in his vehicle, or the psychic ray of death spins them off the road where they would be slapped by Mario Andretti, who says, "Give me your license." We're gonna pick, for number 11, option 1, R for rocket launcher. For number 12, typically you do not endorse violence, however you would easily pay $1,000 to see the following fight: Jackie Chan versus Jean-Claude Van Damme, Crocodile Dundee versus Tarzan, Barbie versus Godzilla, the NRA versus Congress, I believe that's the National Rifle Association, Mike Tyson versus the Incredible Hulk, Bill Gates versus Robocop, your mate versus the defensive line of the Washington Redskins. I think they did they change their name, or let me look this up. Washington Reds, or am I thinking of somebody else? No, oh no, they did change the name. Did they? Became the Washington Redskins. The Redskins logo drew criticism, and then eventually they became the Washington Commanders. But at one point they were the Washington Redskins, and you know that's a bit of unnecessary context. And option 8 is no, I really do endorse violence. So this is question. God, I lost my place in the in the guide. Ooh, easy. Ooh, come on, dude. This is question 12. We gotta pick option 3, which is Barbie versus Godzilla. Barbzilla. So we're gonna go with this for number 13. During the summer, you generally think option 1, and that's more than you can say for yourself in the other seasons. Option 2, that your children will any day now drive you completely insane and you're close already. That this fashion trend towards less is more is a very good thing, or that it's too damn hot. We're gonna pick option 2, it seems. All right. Then for number 14, there's very little you would not do willingly except sit in the window seat of a small airplane as you circle in a holding pattern for 2 hours, even if the captain assures you that the plane has plenty of fuel and the weather is good. That's option 1. Option 2 is ever admit that just once, you were turned on by a comic book character. I believe we've probably all gone through that at some point. It depends on the I'm not gonna say which one, but you know. Let's just move on. Option 3, spend a week walking through the desert, even if you knew that the woman of your dreams would be on the other side. Or software development. Funny. So for number 14, we're gonna pick option 4. We hate software development, evidently. For number 15, if you were a Major League Baseball player, you'd be best known for your accurate pitching, switch hitting, enormous bat, or your outlandish requests for a bigger salary. I mean, who can really scrape by on $1 million a year these days? We're gonna pick option 4. For the final question, you are on a commercial jetliner which crashes into a remote mountain range. Half the passengers survive the impact. Fortunately, you are one of them. Being the leader that you are, you gather these survivors and announce that you'll lead a team down the mountainside to seek help. Number 2, concerned with starvation, declare yourself chef and send a team to see if the heavyset woman you spotted earlier in first class survived. Pretty dark. Number 3, gather these survivors around the wreckage and light the remains of the fuel tanks. As the fire grows in intensity, you yell repeatedly, why prolong it? Oof. And number 4, hunt down the bar cart. Finding it intact, you organize one last drunken blowout before everyone freezes to death. Okay, that's kind of dark as well, but we're gonna pick option 1. That is the final one. Have you answered all of these questions to the best of your ability and as honestly as you could? We'll say yes. It tells us you're very sure of yourself. Impressive. Okay. Now we gotta select our attributes. Now I'm gonna do it in a very specific way. There's some rules where you can read this if you want, but I think it's easier to just show it than to read that thing. So I have on my phone my stat allocation. So we're gonna keep health at 70. That's a good amount of health because we're going to be save-scumming. So as long as we're not at the point where we're getting one shot that often, we'll be fine. But certain things are gonna need to be high. We don't want... We're gonna drop some of these to 35 to get some extra points. Now you can drop it all the way to 0 to get even more points. But then you can never have any skill in this ever in the game. So I think we're gonna drop these miscellaneous skills down to 35 without dropping it all the way down to 0. And I'm even gonna drop marksmanship down to 40. You might think that's crazy in a game that's all about shooting, but the thing is, marksmanship is it's very easy to get your marksmanship up. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be raising dexterity to 60. Agility has to be maximum. I think strength also I'm going to take to 60. Wisdom has to be my god, dude. Wisdom has to be maxed, and leadership has to be maxed. And this is the stat distribution I'll go with. Again, I could sacrifice some of these skills and get more points, and having more strength, having more dexterity would be helpful, but you can raise your stats over time, and I don't think it'll hurt us that much. I do want to have all of the skills available and not lock my main character out of being able to do something, because maybe deep into the game we, develop our explosives skills, it could happen. So we're finished with that. We're gonna I'm gonna say yes, I'm certain. Now I gotta pick a portrait. I'm going to pick this one. It's my favorite. Doesn't really look that much like Glenn McGraw. Well, maybe if he had like different colored hair, he'd look a little bit more like Glenn. But we're gonna select this. I'm gonna select a voice. And my favorite. Voice 3 is my favorite out of all of these. So we are finished. And I'm gonna say we're done. We've only got $30,000 and we're already paying 3,000 of them. And we will get an email soon with the results of the personality profile, which will tell us whether we are optimistic. I'm optimistic that we will be optimistic, but we won't get confirmation of that until that actually shows up. Now, here's the, yes. Importantly, we have both Night Ops and Stealth. That is the main thing I wanted, and then I picked both of the Optimist options, and then that should be enough to get us that done. And next, I'm going to go to AIM. I'm gonna hire Spider. Mugshot. I'm gonna hire Spider, Dr. Donna, Spider Houston, and we're gonna do a 2-week contract.
Dr. Houston, how may I help you?
I'm just gonna hire her on
Okay, we should talk about how long a contract you had in mind.
2 weeks, and you know what? I'll keep your equipment, and that is
I'm not trying to sound morbid, but I really do enjoy field work.
yeah. See, she's speaking up for herself a little bit. I think we could wait for her to say. We'll wait for her to say one more thing.
I've got appointments to get to.
Okay, now she's telling us to hurry up, so we're gonna transfer the funds.
All right, everything seems to be in order. I'll report for duty.
Now here's the question: is do we want one more merc, or are we gonna go in? Because if we hire anybody else, maybe I should have done like a 1 week, like 2 weeks is the best, economy of scale. But maybe early on I should have gone for a 1 week contract and then gotten a second merc. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? I think what we'll do is this is gonna be really risky, but we're gonna go with just me and Donna, and we're gonna call it good, and both Pigeon and Spider are in transit. We're not gonna start the game yet, because we'll have to capture Omerta, but before we do that, I'm gonna go to the options. I'm gonna save my game in a new slot. We're gonna call this I guess, I don't know. Why isn't the keyboard? Excuse me? Why isn't the, Why is it not letting me type? Oh. Can I not type? So, hang on. Is the game even... The game isn't... Hang on. Let me save the game. Oh, okay. Well, I guess you can't... Hang on. I tried typing in something. It wouldn't let me type. Maybe that's a bug? Or... I guess we don't really need that. What we're gonna do is... At this point, we're gonna end our first episode, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how the rest of the series is going to go. Now, usually when I do series like this, I record the intro episode and the first proper episode, post character creation. Unfortunately, this past week I didn't have the time to do that, and I'm not going to have the time to do it this week as well, because I'm going to be super busy. Last week, normally, when I would have had time to record this, a bunch of stuff happened. Notably, while I was on the subway, I witnessed an assault, which was like just a weird thing to have happen. Like, some psycho dude walked by and slammed some other guy's head into the window and then just walked off. And I... Like the victim, I don't think would have been able to describe the guy. I got a better look at him. I did tell the victim he should, report it himself. But then I called the police and I gave them the description, and then I also called the transit authorities and gave them the description. And then a constable called me and we confirmed it for a third time. So that whole process took like, I don't know, three and a half hours in total. A lot of just waiting. A lot of it was just waiting on the phone for people to come off hold, I guess. But you know what? Life happens. I wish it didn't happen, but it did. So I had to do that, and then work stuff as well. My schedule was suddenly changed, and a bunch of extra and complicated work was foisted upon me. So I also had to spend some time thinking about how that's gonna, be done. And then obviously, more work means fewer hours to do, other discretionary things. So yeah. What we'll do now is we will just wrap up this episode here, and actually it's maybe a blessing in disguise, because I'm attempting to do a very complicated thing in this playthrough, and if I just start playing, I am very experienced in this game, but there is a chance that I will make mistakes, and mistakes in this game can be irreversible, right? So we will have a chance for other people watching to comment with any tips or tricks. So for this first week, there's just going to be this one episode. Hopefully from next week onwards, we're going to have 3 episodes per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, until the series is done. But for this first week, we're just going to have one episode. And we will use this extra time as a way to see if anybody has any advice that they'd like to give me. That's how we're gonna look at it. But yeah, that's gonna be all for this one. I'm gonna say thank you so much for watching. Hope you had a good time. Hope you are as excited about this series as I am, and hope to see you next week for when we truly get going on our campaign to capture the entire nation of Arulco. But yes, that's going to be something we'll start on next week, and until then, take care.